Welcome back on the AM show. And of course, we get into that big interview, that big interaction with our guest this morning. He is legislator for the Afutu constituency in the Central Region. He also is majority leader in Parliament. And guess what? I found out, a little bird whispered to me, it's not coincidence that he's decked in his, is it azure or baby blue jacket this morning. Today happens to be his birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Efishiapa.
Thank you.
It's interesting that we've been able to pull you, draw you out of your home on your birthday.
Well,
Thank you for celebrating it with us.
I give my word to your producer, and it's important to honor him. So
Great.
It's okay.
Great. Thank you for doing us the honors. So let's get right down to it. You've been majority leader for a few months now. It's I remember when you had your first, you spoke on this and you spoke about your path, how you had got here, even to become a Futu legislator, and then how things had been orchestrated and pivoted you to this point. But how do you feel as majority leader so far? And in terms of your caucus, how do you feel you're faring in Parliament?
Well, we're doing fairly well. A sense of fulfillment. And I enjoy that bit of leadership where you have to engage the more. The posture of banter, has given way to engagement. So you would have to manage your own side and engage the other side and look for solutions that would help with the governance of the House. Because your job as a majority leader is to ensure that government business goes through. You wouldn't want a rank-cross House. But of course, it's a political turf. You cannot also avoid the banter. It's a political turf. So when you have to get tough, you have to get tough.
Right.
Where you have to lay back and do the diplomacy, you have to do it. So there's
you must find that
one
balance.
fit for all strategy. You must always look at the situation and know what to do. So it's okay so far. I'm sure we continue to pray for God's wisdom and guidance to carry through, because it's not an easy time to be a leader. You have a majority of one. So if one person is off, you are in trouble.
And Ejisu gave you that.
Yeah, after 20th March, when I wrote a memo to Mr. Speaker, and our friends on the other side decided not to come, I was really left with no option, because if...
When you say they decided not to come, at a point they came for the Ministerial...
I'm talking about, we had a two-stage thing. After the adjournment SNIT,
right,
I wrote a memo to Speaker to invoke his own mandate or power to recall Parliament. But I'm saying that because I didn't have my 138, my colleagues decided not to come. But immediately I had my 138, I could trigger Article 1123. All right? So even if they are not come, I had the numbers to take decisions. All right? So it's not an easy path, because of the numbers.
right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, so there were those extraneous factors for which Parliament had to be reconvened and all of that. When is Parliament going to be fully back? Are you back? What dates do we...
Well, Mr. Speaker would have to determine that, but I'm sure within...
But for the parliamentary calendar...
I'm sure within the first week of June, we should...
First week of June.
Yes, please.
Right. Speaking of which, the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagman, I mean, you've been in Parliament throughout his tenure, and now you are majority leader. Some have said that in some instances, on matters of fairness, rulings, and all of that. How would you, if you had to describe him in one word, what word would you use? And you can go beyond that.
I don't think you want us to discuss, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, I'm just saying. I mean, recently, for example, there was a bit of a tussle. Would he, recall Parliament? Would he not recall Parliament? Would you? But some have also said, this is the first time, I'm preaching to the choir here, this is the first time we've had, at least in this Fourth Republic, and as long as I remember, a speaker from the other side. I've never seen this much, maybe rancor, apart from within the Liman era when the finance, the budget was put forward. So some have also said, well, how would you place him?
I don't think you want us to discuss speaker, but he's doing his work.
He's doing his bit.
Yes, and so far we've been working.
Anyway, in terms of government business, though, recently you got your ministerial appointees and deputy ministerial appointees through. How is it going? The president charged the new appointees, do your best. You have 7 months, but do your best. How is that going?
Well, I think the confirmation delayed, and President had no choice than to rely on Article 58 to appoint them as his special representatives. And I think when we recalled, the opportunity came for them to be confirmed. But there were some surprises, because the committee report was by consensus. And by our practice, whenever the committee report is by consensus, we take it as such, and then we use a voice vote. Right. Unfortunately, on the day when the first deputy speaker was to move the motion for the adoption of the report, our colleagues said, okay, they are resigning and that they are not part of us. So we should amend the report to reflect majority decision. We could have fought that, but we felt that, look, it's an election year. They have a political decision to take, and they have taken it. If the last minute they don't want to be part of it, so be it. Are you suggesting the communication before? Because I know both sides usually have discussions before. I'm just saying that usually, even before you get on the floor, sometimes there are discussions. Are we to talk about our internal matters? Between you guys. No, I'm talking about what played out on the floor. I'm saying that they decided, for the records, that they don't want to be part of it. Yes, I get that point, but I'm just asking, was there any I'm referring to interaction before going on? I'm referring to what was out there for the public. Okay. And I'm saying that though the report had been laid earlier, and it was by consensus, they now decided not to be part of it. But of course, we had our 138, and we were okay to go. So when they walked out, we still passed them. Okay? The point here is that we could have done it much earlier. Then the Garrett project of 150 million, we had earlier approved the 300, and then we did this 150 million too. That one too, they wanted a head count. We won. They didn't have their numbers, and I found it a very poor strategy on their part, knowing that they didn't have their numbers, but still going into battle. Anyway, that's up to them. But again, we carried the day. And on the issue of the tax waiver, and that is where I think that I have a very big problem with our colleagues. You see, how so? We're talking in about this country, how much? Is it 250 million? Don't let us talk about how much.
But you can't have the conversation without talking about how much is
I'm saying that you don't have to talk the numbers. If you talk about the numbers, you get it wrong. You would oversimplify it and you get it wrong. Gentlemen, countries are competing for investment, all right? And they have all manner of incentives to attract people to bring capital. We are talking about post-COVID entrepreneurial decisions. Entrepreneurs would have to take decisions which country they would go to. You go to Qatar today, in their free zones, their policy on foreign direct investment, so attractive. Tax waivers, first 10 years, you are not supposed to pay your tax on profits and all. You have that space. Now, this government introduces the one district, one factory. The aim of it is to create a space for businesses to thrive. If you give that incentive, that money, that capital is invested in the business. That is why I'm saying that don't quantify that, oh, government is giving tax incentives of 300 million. Oh, that money could have been used for something else. You get it wrong.
I see.
When you give a businessman the space, you are allowing him to employ more. You are allowing him to expand. That is the rationale behind it.
Okay, so the rationale is clear. Let me just halt you. We have the Free Zones Authority, right?
May I finish the point? Let me
talk about.
First of all, let me finish the point first.
Go ahead.
Now, we bring this. We have 42 companies, and then all of a sudden, the minority will say, "No, you are granting tax waivers of so much, so we will not allow." There are factories that are at various stages of completion, that are going through frustration because the equipment are there, the law has not been passed. There's no resolution to support. In my own constituency, an Indian company has come establishing a tissue factory, the first of its kind in West Africa. And this tissue factory is going to produce the raw material base for all the tissue companies. You know the tissue companies we have in Ghana, they all import the pulp, the jumbo, then they come and cut it and all. This company is going to produce it. And they got attracted to Ghana because of the 1D, 1F.
I see.
They are almost 60% done. And we are in Parliament, dragging our feet. There are many other companies going through the same thing. I am feeling it because if this company is completed, they will start employing my people. The companies that are importing will not have to import. So the pressure on the city would go down. And if they have that tax incentive, they will be able to, do their phase 2 and employ more. The point I'm making here is that instead of looking at it with a myopic eye, get a bigger lens to look at it, look at the impact of that incentive, and look at the space around you. Are other countries offering similar incentives? If they do, they would go.
All right.
You cannot travel, GIPC, chief executive traveling, trade minister traveling, foreign minister traveling, the president traveling, going to market Ghana, only for businesses to come, and then we in Parliament, we are playing politics with it. Our colleagues in the minority know that the 1D, 1F with its tax incentive, the policy is not about giving freebies. They know. But as usual, they would want to play politics, and that is where I have a problem. Anyway, Mr. Speaker has directed that within the recess period, they should have a meeting and express all their concerns. Where they disagree with some of the numbers, they should put that out, engage the sector ministry and the sector minister, so that by the time we resume, their report will be ready.
Okay, so let me come in here. I was telling you about the Free Zones Authority and some outfits already that are beneficiaries to large sums. I don't want to mention, but we know them. Some producing bananas, cultivating bananas. I'm sure you know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So many of them. And others are looking at this gargantuan sum of $250 million. And I get your point. It should be about the impact, not necessarily about how much. Some economists have looked at it and said, you are getting tranches of about how much? 600 million from the IMF, and you are giving out tax waivers to the sum of about half of that. Does that make any sense at all? But when it comes to these tax waivers, you also say that the other side is playing politics. I do recall that during their tenure, there were also issues that came up, and your side was, you lampooned them basically.
Specifically.
But I mean, there's a plethora of them.
No,
when it comes to tax waivers, it's an issue that even within their tenure has been raised. I could fish for.
No, but the NDC government was a pro-tax. NDC, they are pro-tax. We came and repealed a lot of their tax laws.
And you added other taxes.
Few others, I must admit, until 2021. But look at the records. When we came in, we repealed and even reduced some of the taxes. All right? And people were even wondering, how come you are repealing some tax laws, you are giving incentives, and at the same time, you are implementing social intervention programs like the free SHS?
Right.
All right? So we are not a pro-tax government. We don't believe in taxation. We believe in giving space to the private sector to thrive.
I mean, the Vice President said that.
When it's so necessary,
you wanted to focus on production.
Yes, of course, and
but
obviously
currently,
that's
you have since you go there, I mean,
yeah, please.
There are about 22 tax handles on a number of items being brought into the country. I'm sure you've followed our conversations with people from Abosuokai and others. Even if you go to a restaurant, we are the only country still holding on to the COVID-19 levy. How do you respond to that in reference to what you're saying?
So, like I said, NPP would impose taxation when it's extremely essential to do so. Yeah. All right? And that is exactly what we've done. We are not a pro-tax government that believes in tax them to generate revenue. We believe that give space to the private sector and let them increase production and employ more. And through that expansion, government will get the needed revenue. It's what we've been doing. During the COVID, we had free water. Government invested heavily in terms of supply or supplies for people who were very vulnerable.
It's good you added that.
Yes.
Because it's not everybody.
Even for electricity, those in that vulnerable bracket had some space. Apart from the general electricity tariff reductions that we enjoyed. And this fact must be known and must be out there, that during the NDC era, Ghanaians cried on the government to look at the electricity tariffs. Our former president was very clear that because of the high cost of production, it was impossible. In fact, he again related to the nursery training allowance and the teacher training allowance that government was being squeezed. So these were interventions that government would have to do away with, and government could not fund it.
Okay, so let me...
I'll finish. Let me develop my point. Let me get done.
Sure.
Now, on the basis of that, the NDC government made Ghanaians to pay the full cost in terms of electricity tariffs. But we came in. Various reductions were announced. Households enjoyed between 17 to 19%. Industries enjoyed tariff reductions up to 30%. Never has this ever happened, that a government announcing major electricity tariff reduction in this republic. It has never happened before. It has never happened before. And if you compare, though from 2020 and now, we have been having tariff adjustment, upward adjustment. But if you compare in percentage terms, whereas we are increasing an average of 9% per annum, in the NDC era, the 8 years that they came, if you look at the numbers, it's around 40% average. So I'm saying that things are not perfect.
Right.
But things are better compared to the situation we found ourselves under our friends who are now in opposition.
Okay, so sometimes this is where, because if you look at the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper, it echoes what you're saying. We have outperformed the NDC. That is according to the Vice President, Dr. Baumia. But
because they are competitors.
Hold for me.
We have an election, and they are the ones who are coming up.
Before I come through with the substantives.
With alternative ideas, and we need to situate the argument
I get that.
In those relative terms, because you are not looking at MPP as an absolute entity.
Right.
It's like you talking about a referendum. If, as it were, gentlemen, we need to get the conversation right. My name
is Benjamin.
Ben, yes, sure. Ben, if we are talking about a referendum,
yes,
NPP going into the election as a one-party state, one party, saying that, oh, has MPP done well? And then you rate MPP at 55% or 60% or whatever. That one is within your right. But for me, to the extent that you will be comparing the track record of MPP against NDC, or that in December, the choice would be which party can better serve you, then I'm able to say that NDC, bring your records on board. Okay. Because it is not an argument in bad faith.
Right.
To say that, I'm comparing. I have to compare because come December 4th, 7th, or 8th, or whatever, Ghanaians would now have an option. If you don't renew the mandate of this party, you are going to give an opportunity to the NDC. I need to remind Ghanaians that the NDC could not perform.
Okay, so let me just.
I need to remind them
before I get
they had the opportunity.
Back
they could
to
not.
The power-related matters, and this has been a bit of a problem with our politics. We kicked the NDC out for specific reasons.
I agree.
Okay.
Yes. That they could not implement free SHS.
It means they are not the benchmark. They are not the standard bearer. By what you're saying, you agree fundamentally that if we did that, it means the yardstick that will be used to measure you is not necessarily whether they fared better or worse on the corruption perception index, on the economy, on sanitation, on this or that. Yes, people will weigh, but in the end, we expect much better from, it's not about them, it's about what you could have delivered. Do you agree with me?
Ben, I agree with you in part. And I would explain the aspects of your submission I agree with. Okay. Yes, when you give leadership to somebody, you have high expectation. So, to that extent, you have every cause to complain when things are not going the way you expect. So, for instance, if MPP could not implement free SHS, Ghanaians would have questioned them that, oh, you promised free SHS. Where is it? You've disappointed us. But they've done so. When
you couldn't institute $1 million per constituency, could you?
2, Fisher folks needed landing beach sites. NDC could not do it. We promised that we would do it. They were supposed to do 6. We promised to do 6. Today, we are doing 13. Are Ghanaians happy with that? Yes, the Fisher folks. They said, oh, they will take you, that you did well. Nursing and teacher training allowance. They said that they will cancel it. They did cancel it. We promised we were going to do it. Question is, have we done it? We have done it. If you come to an NHIS, the National Health Insurance, you recall that in the 8 years of NDC, the system of record keeping was so poor that service providers could be owed several months. And you go to hospital and you are told that the NHIS card would not be accepted. So people even abandon. The records are there. Where the usage, the patronage, had gone down to just around 1.5 million. Today, what do we see? Astronomical increase in the patronage of health insurance because the system is in place to pay. Now, there are areas of disappointment, like you said.
But you know the NHI has its own struggles. I mean, I told you, I had Dr. Da Costa.
I am saying that in spite of...
We know what challenges.
Ben, do you want this conversation to flow? I'm saying that in spite of the challenges, we've chalked some good success, which you know. We've chalked some successes, which you know. And I'm saying that the fact that the patronage, the use, the reliance on the NHIS policy has increased should tell you that something good is happening there. Now, service providers are being paid on time. Do we still have complaints of several clinics, hospitals being owed several months without being paid? No. Actually, all right?
Yes. You don't get me when I interject. It is, what you're saying is right. So many hurdles have been crossed. But when you say things like, do we have several? Yes, actually. There are a number of them. But the good thing is, like I had Dr. Da Costa here, between 180 million and 250 million is being paid every month. He was here himself calling on the finance minister to do more. So many strides have been made, but you must admit that some challenges still exist. That's all I'm saying.
You see, maybe you are also not following. I admit that we do not have a perfect system, but we've done better than we came to meet. That point must also be made. And I'm saying that if hospitals were complaining bitterly, you go to a hospital and they turn you down because they say the government owes them several months and they are not paying, so you should go back home. I'm saying that from what we know in Parliament, the records that you also know from the chief executive, the situation has significantly improved. It's a matter of fact. So we must admit that. Now, there are other challenges in the economy that people complain of, and that is where I'll come back to your next point. So if somebody complains about it, rightly so, he has to complain. But I'm saying that to the extent that we are going into a competition, and in that competition, that yesterday's failure is the one coming up to say that, oh, you see, they could not perform, so give me the chance. It's important to remind those who are going to take a decision that this man who claims that give me the chance cannot do it better. For that one, we need to make that point clear. We can no more keep quiet. It doesn't mean that if we say so, we are saying so in bad faith. No. But it is important that you remind the decision makers that the alternative is scary. The alternative is worse.
And I have some messages coming through, people saying some health service, they are mentioning specific ones haven't been paid, but because I cannot independently verify, I'll just gloss over that. But let me take you back, because yes, we started from energy. So I don't want, you mentioned COVID and then energy came in. You do realize when you spoke about the former administration and talk about some leeway not being given at the time. I remember in the 90s where at a point the Rawlings administration had to say goodbye to subsidies because we realized it wasn't helping anybody. That's point number one. Then you also come back to the COVID era and yes, doing what was needed to help the poor and the needy. Mind you, currently, that catchment, I've forgotten what specific name they are given. You know, those who get the least consumption, and so they are given, I've forgotten the name.
LEAP.
No, not LEAP. There's another term for them. Okay. You know, it has actually gone
you're talking
up.
About, right. Okay,
so now it's been widened. Exactly.
The consumers,
That's the second point. The third point is, out of the same COVID-19, this administration got north of 21 billion Ghana cedis. And finally, there is the COVID-19 levy, which we are paying till today. Some would say, actually, we've paid what you gave us many times over. Would you agree?
Well, it depends on the data. If those people have a data to prove that, why not? I mean, but in the absence of data,
But I've given you a number.
No, you said...
Did this administration not...
Ben, you said perhaps.
Which one?
Paid. No, you talked about the intervention. And then you also referred to the tax.
Right.
And you are saying that some people are arguing that perhaps they have paid more than they received. And my point is that there must be data to support that claim. In the absence of same, it's merely speculative. I would not want to get into that. I wait on their data. Then we can make the argument.
Okay. Let's now talk about some other issues, thorny issues happening in Parliament, starting with the continuous rebuffing, refusal of the president to sign the Anti-LGBTQ bill. In recent times, I mean, we followed the court processes, so we know the Supreme Court is also deliberating on the matter. But things came to a head recently because when at the Jubilee House, there was a meeting with the presidency and the minority. Upon the invitation of the presidency, the minority came. I hear some of these matters were spoken of, including pushing for a certain KPMG report to be released as a condition. But before we go there, when it comes to the LGBTQ
as a condition
bill,
for what?
For their cooperation in Parliament. I mean, that is what Johnson Esidu Nketia, chairman of the party, told me last Thursday. He said that on authority that the president had released the KPMG report because it had been a precondition of the NDC side in that meeting with the president and at the Jubilee House. But let me ask you, the LGBTQ bill, has it brought any friction between Parliament and the executive? Frictions or fissures that have to be mended?
So, first of all, Mr. Esidu Nketia is somebody I respect so much. And to the extent that you quote him on authority on a matter that he has made pronouncement on publicly, I find a bit worrying because...
From my end or his end? Because I actually...
from his end. That's what I'm saying.
Him to specify, and he specified.
Sure. Ben, you pay attention to the foundation I'm laying. I initiated the meeting with the president.
Okay.
And engaged my colleague, and we had a fruitful discussion.
When you say your colleague, Kaselato Forson?
Yes, Dr. Forson. Right. And all of us were present, 10 of us, and we had a very good discussion. I don't know where this issue of precondition, I don't know. And I don't know who briefed Mr. Esidu Nketia on this. Sometimes when we twerk some of these things, we have to be very careful how we want to go about it. But the president had already initiated a process of getting this KPMG thing done, had given directives to...
Really?
Yes, a press statement prior to our meeting.
Because prior to that meeting, every other communication I had seen, and correct me, I could be wrong, pointed to the fact that we've issued the white paper and that is it. No. Was there something else before that meeting?
No. Don't say everything pointed.
That's why I say what I have seen. Okay. That's why I'm saying what I had seen.
So let's get it right. The president took the matter up, referred to the KPMG, same to KPMG. They did a report. Upon receipt of the report, he made it public that he has receipt of the report. He issued a press statement, wrote to GRA and directed them on certain steps to be taken. And there were demands on him to release the report from the entity that undertook the exercise, that's the Fourth Estate, the Media Foundation guys. He did not respond to them by saying that I won't release to you or that, but he referred them to the law, the act. And let's state for the records that the president is exempt to the extent that that document, it is for his decision-making to guide him, to advise him. So he stated that as a matter of record.
Right.
Now, he decided that, look, be that as it may, I would make the report available. And I'm saying that there was no such thing as a precondition for cooperation.
Within that meeting?
No, come on.
That's the meeting of the 10. There was
yes, I'm saying that's why out of respect to Mr. Esidu Nketia, I would not want to go into it. But I'm saying
just to clarify, I don't think that's the point he's making. The point he's making is that when they met with the president, it was a precondition there that if you want our cooperation in Parliament
there was no
on some of these matters. No, at the Jubilee House.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's what you're referencing.
I was the leader of that delegation, and I'm saying that there was no such thing. There was no such thing.
So it couldn't have been possible that there was some interaction on your blind side with Mr. President or Nana Santi Bedietu or the Chief of Staff. That is not possible, right?
Let's leave it there. Let's leave it.
Okay.
So come back to LGBT thing. I don't think that the president has refused to sign. The bill is not with the presidency. So sometimes the language, how we couch it, we have to state the facts correctly. You see, there are lawyers in this house, and they should all assist us. A process was filed with some injunctive reliefs. attached there too. And that had been served on Parliament, restraining Parliament from serving the process on the presidency. It has nothing to do with the president.
When the president started talking about this,
do you want the facts? Do you want the fact out? No, you've situated an argument. When you have said that,
when the president spoke about this to the diplomatic corps,
you have said that
a day before the matter was in court.
You have said that the president is refusing to sign. I don't want you to mislead the public. The president is not in receipt of any bill.
Let's not use the word refuse.
So put it.
He has not signed.
He has not received. Don't say he has not signed. He has not received any bill.
We do know that 3 times the clerk of parliament.
No, because the court. The clerk of parliament was in breach of a court process. And the president
clerk of parliament was in breach.
Of course.
Is that what the law says?
No, you cannot serve a process when you've been served with an injunction process. They know. It is trial learning. Excuse me, they know it. So let's not get into in
that material moment. You're saying that because this had happened, did Parliament have to be served?
Parliament was served with a process. Parliament has appointed a solicitor who is litigating the matter in court.
No, I mean in that material moment when those attempts were made, Parliament had been served already.
Who made the attempt?
No, I'm just asking you for clarity.
You should situate your question correctly. If you are not situating the correct question correctly, you said that at the moment that it was served, has Parliament been served? Who was in receipt of the process? Parliament received the writ and the injunction application from the Supreme Court registry.
Right.
And Parliament was going ahead to still serve the bill on the presidency.
Right.
And the presidency drew the attention of Parliament to the fact that you have this that you've been served with. So stay away from temptation. It's a matter of act within the law. And they've since acted within the law. Parliament has acted within the law. The matter was ripe for hearing. The Chief Justice decided to allow your cameras there. And all of us have been following it. Directions have been given to the lawyers. And they have filed their processes. So let's wait for the full hearing of the matter.
So Dr. Amanda Odoi, Richard Sky, among others. But there's that question. I'll go back to KPMG briefly because of a point you made.
Yes, please.
But when it comes to LGBT, right, there's that question too that this leaves, of the calendar when it comes to the legal system and the courts and all of that. Some say this leaves the matter in limbo, and it is a strategy so that this
strategy
will not be
of who by who.
Just let me. It's a strategy so that this will not be dealt with under this administration. We get into elections, and then it becomes someone else's headache.
If we get into a terrain of speculation, we don't help our viewers. We don't help the public. You, as a host, putting this question across, a strategy by who? Whose strategy? Tell me.
This administration's strategy.
Is this administration a party to the suit?
This administration is impacted by whatever consequences may arise from
You've not answered my question.
Or that.
Is this administration a party to the suit?
This administration does not have to be a part of the suit.
Is this administration a plaintiff?
This administration does not have to be a plaintiff to have an interest. You do know that.
I'm wondering how you are coming up with all
Afenyo-Markin.
It doesn't help.
In law, you can be an interested party or a disinterested party. The fact that you are not party to a suit does not mean that you may not have an interest in an issue.
No.
You know that fully well. You know that fully well.
No, you are moving. But
you're sitting saying that because you are not a plaintiff.
You're saying that it's a strategy by the government. That's what you just said.
I am saying that some assume that this
could be. So correct those who are assuming. So correct them.
It's not in my. I don't know everything in there.
Tell them that government is not a party. Tell them government is not a party.
But I don't know that for a fact. I don't know whether they are a party or not.
No, you know that for a fact.
I do?
The title of the suit is Richard Sky versus Parliament as first defendant.
Okay.
Attorney General, which is also by constitution, as second defendant. The Amanda Odoi as a citizen of Ghana, a party who is the plaintiff, Parliament as a first defendant, the AG as a second defendant. Is the government a party?
Point made.
Thank you.
I don't want us to belabor the point because there are so many other things to address. But on the KPMG report, just to get, that's why I said I would go back.
Yes, please.
So what you're saying is that let's quash what the minority is saying. Let's quash what Asiedu Nketia said, whatever may have been suggested. The president would have released the full report anyway. That's what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
Obviously. On his own.
I see. Why the initial holdback?
No,
No. I mean, you've seen the releases from the Jubilee House, part of which said that, quoted parts of the law talking about the fact that we can't release this on the back of XYZ. I could pull up, and that is not going to happen. The white paper suffices. That's the angle I'm coming from.
White paper. This was not a commission.
Well, I mean,
I'm saying that
the release by the president.
All right. So the president issued a press release and also wrote to GRA and made that letter even public. Subsequently, Fourth Estate, let me commend them. I said that in my press conference today, too. I'll commend them for their hard work.
Right.
What they did is good for our democracy. If all investigations go the way, they did their work, it helps governance. So I commend them highly for the work they did. Now, the president referred to the law to say that I am exempt. When I receive a document, the law says that when it is to advise me, is to support me, help me in my deliberative work as president, that document cannot come to the public domain. That is a matter of fact or law. He stated so. However, subsequent to that, the president issued another press statement, explained the whole process, and again referred to the law and concluded that notwithstanding, he wants the public to peruse it and that he had also sought the consent of KPMG. Don't forget that KPMG had preconditioned a report that before you release it to the public, you need their consent. And that is what auditors do. You can't just release their document to the public. All right? So he procured their consent, and same was granted, and he released it. It had nothing to do with a general engagement that parliamentary leadership has had with, him. No conditions were given, and after the meeting, none of us in leadership, came out specifically to say that, we discussed item A, item B, and all that. A general statement was issued. We've had fruitful discussions on governance issues, national issues. That was it.
Okay, but now...
That's why I keep saying, I told you earlier that I was surprised about, what you claim Mr. Asiedu Nketia said.
Well, the videos are out there.
No, I'm not doubting you, but I'm saying that I'm surprised, about that. Yeah, right. I'm very surprised.
But from this angle as well, for continuity, a committee, parliamentary committee, is in the works on this matter. Your own member of parliament for Ibuakwa South, Samuel Atachia, I've heard him speak to some of these issues. Some have said that KPMG has done it, but I have heard him speak and say, well, the fact that KPMG has done it doesn't mean KPMG's report is foolproof. From the parliamentary end, what would be your expectations?
Well, it depends on which aspect of the whole contract we would want to look at. For the purpose of oversight.
But are you even for a further probe into this from Parliament? Are you for a probe?
I'm saying that for the purpose of oversight, Parliament's powers may not be too limited. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. For me, there must be a finality to this whole thing, okay? And to me, the fact that there has been a reputable auditing firm getting into this, issuing a report, president releasing the report, making it public, the fact that GRA has been tasked to get into further discussions and, make take certain steps, and they are following suit. What we should be interested in is whether or not the recommendations of KPMG, okay, which recommendation the president adopted in whole, are being implemented by GRA. So for me, that is very critical.
Right.
Very, very critical. Because the president did not do pick and choose. He accepted the entire report and made certain directives. So let's be interested in that one. Ensure that, the good sides are taken on board, the bad sides are also corrected. For instance, the KPMG report was very clear on the qualitative benefit of the downstream aspect of the contract. That
Right.
It has really helped us. It had challenges with the upstream issues, and said certain things would have to be put in place to straighten the whole transaction up. So let us follow those ones through and ensure that there's value for money.
All right. Just two follow-ups
Yes, please.
on that issue. I'll not go into the transition from SMEL to SML and West Blue, but are you concerned that if you look at the Public Financial Management Act, what it talks about, ministerial and parliamentary approval of contracts, Parliament did not give approval
Read the law fully.
for
Read
this.
Read it. Read it.
I am not going
The 33(1). Read it. Read it in full.
I don't have the full thing here, but
Because
I could
okay,
get into
so let me
that.
help you.
And no, let me just add the follow-up to it so you
Okay.
respond together. Then there is also the bit about taxes. The GRA paid SML from 2018 to 2023 for the contracts in scope. If you look at the gross figure, $1.4 billion, amount in dollars north of $186 million. The net, $1.06 billion, and amount in dollars, 141.7. But there's the bit about, interestingly, from 1st September 2020 to the 30th of April 2021, bulk payments were made to SML covering invoices for an 8-month period, but did not have VAT and other deductions amounting to 13.38 million Ghana cedis. Are you worried about that? The fact that for this period, SML did not pay taxes?
So for those specific matters, I think that is for GRA to respond to that. I cannot speak to.
No, but I'm just asking whether,
I'm
as a
saying
parliamentarian, majority
no,
leader,
you see-
are you concerned?
No, you see, if I express a view, that would suggest that I have perused the facts. In all sincerity, I've not seen the contract. I can't be here and say that I'm concerned. Hey, no, that would be unfair. So I'm saying that GRA as an entity can speak to this. I mean, you can arrange an interview where GRA rep can come sit here and then go through the contract. What is your justification for doing this? What is your justification for doing that? And you would have the full fact. But if I just make a sweeping statement, that would be unfair. That's why I'm going to avoid it. However, I'm able to respond to the general legal issue.
You were about to go into the Public Financial Management Act.
Yes, please.
All right, go ahead.
So you see, some concerns were raised about the Section 33, which says that when it's a multi-year contract, it has to come to Parliament and all that. But what they forgot was that the law did not stop there. The 181 that they are talking about has to do with international commercial transactions and loans, okay? And when you are trying to interpret the law, you don't interpret them in silos. Look at it together.
Right.
Give it a purposive meaning. Then you would appreciate it. So if the act says that go to Parliament, you go to Parliament under what law? It could be as well that Parliament erred or in enacting that particular law. It could be also that the transaction, the subject matter of Section 33 should be an international commercial transaction. But this one, the company is a local company. It has nothing to do with an international commercial transaction. So, well, if people still disagree, this is something that we can again test in court. Test the law and ask the Supreme Court to interpret whether or not a transaction involving a local entity must necessarily come under the contemplation of Section 33 of PFM Act and Article 181 of the Constitution. This is a matter that can be tested. You know, because it's all good for governance that some of these things come up.
But must these matters always go to court, though?
Yes.
Must it not be that
because
processes are so transparent, lucid, that at all levels?
No, we are talking about law, Ben.
You can deal. No, but Parliament operates with laws.
No, you see,
Parliament operates with laws, and you know that some things are basic, like you said, trite knowledge.
The interpretation of the law does not follow an objective test.
I get that.
The test is subjective. So give it to the law lords for them to pronounce on it. You remember the famous Dr. Sebe Yabo and the ECG case, where we were arguing strongly that government was using ECG and GMPC as its alter ego in the car power transaction. What did the Supreme Court say? Supreme Court said that yes, we can see the hands of government, but this is not government. Ben, you follow that? Have you read that case? That we can see the hands of government, but we still say that this is not under 181. It is ECG's board that approved the transaction. It is GMPC's board that approved the transaction. In spite of the fact that we had invited the Supreme Court to hold that government, through SETECME, had directed ECG to issue a guarantee. And we're saying that to the extent that the guarantee was coming from government to support the transaction, government was electing ECG as its alter ego.
Right.
Supreme Court said no. So car power was not a subject matter of parliamentary approval. We accepted it. You get the point? So I'm saying that sometimes when we are all arguing, bantering this, it should come to Parliament, it shouldn't come to Parliament. When we were in opposition, we had a good strategy. When we get defeated in the chamber on a matter of law, we go to Supreme Court for interpretation and we come back. Right. We lost some, we won some. That is governance. So I think that somebody should pick this matter up, go to the Supreme Court, and then seek an interpretation. So we bring this matter to
just to conclude on the KPMG bit, because quite a storm has been raised on it. The NPA boss, there's been a document that points to a contract being awarded to a new company, which would make for curious interpretation, because he raised questions about the potential duplicity of that revenue contract between SML and the GRA, saying, quoting him, potentially we consider it, that is the SML deal, duplicitous. This was in February.
Who is saying this?
So the MPA boss, Dr. Mustafa Hamid. Okay. I'm quoting what he said back then. And he also said the MPA has a system that tracks the lifting and transportation of fuel products from the depots to the tanks of the oil marketing companies. With that system, the MPA can tell the volumes of petroleum products in all the fuel stations across Ghana at any given time. But now, there is talk of this new arrangement with H Field, and questions have been raised about what exactly they are expected to come and do if he sticks to his earlier thoughts. But let's quickly segue from there. Quick reactions for me. Ghana's public debt has hit 658.6 billion Ghana cedis upwards. We've had a lot of people speak about why the cedi is depreciating. I think since the start of the year, it's lost about 14% or more. The last time I checked, the dollar had hit 16 cedis. The euro was hovering around the same amount. The pound is north of 17. I link that to what the finance minister, Dr. Amin Adam, has been saying in that recent presser. He says, we will stabilize the cedi. Business people, everybody is feeling the pinch. How soon will the cedi be stabilized?
So I can relate to this. I'm a businessman,
I know.
an active entrepreneur. Apart from my law practice and the politics I do, I survive on my private sector, dealings. So I feel it. But what I know about this government is that not too long ago, we had a similar situation. You recall the cedi reached 15 for $1.
It was about 16.
About 16,
Yeah.
2 years ago. And it came all the way down to 8. You remember?
8?
Yes. Check it.
I remember 11.
No, it got to 8. Then it started coming to 9. It came to 10, 11, and it stayed at 11.5 for a long time. Then it got to 12. Now, you realize that the past, around mid-March, all the way through to April, a lot of contractors were paid. In fact, from the records of the Ministry of Finance, government paid no less than, is it 6 or 7 billion? Let's get. I mean, I think the figure was 7 billion. This is how much government within a short period has released to contractors. That is only road contractors. Apart from other payments that have been made in the public sector, Cocoa Board also about 3 weeks ago paid Cocoa Road contractors 1 billion cedis. Now,
I mean, the finance minister has mentioned that some of these payments have hobbled the cedi.
And I'm saying, I'll make the point. Now, unfortunately, it is not today. There's a history to this. A lot of times, people like to change their cedi into dollar. Whereas people were complaining, our roads, contractors were complaining, even petitioning Parliament. Unfortunately, when these payments went through, many people were changing their money, and the pressure again was on the cedi. Within a short period, we were struggling. Now, it's taking a toll on every business. And I'm sure government has heard the concerns of the private sector. The finance minister has given assurance.
Right.
Let's pray that, per what he said, things would get better. It will get better. I'm not too sure it will remain there and continue to climb.
How much better? Do you have a projection?
I'm not a finance minister.
You walk the corridors of power.
I'm not a finance
You speak with these people. What's the plan?
But we know. I would use the records of this government to assure Ghanaians. What is the record? We got to 15.5 and efforts were made and the cedi dropped.
I'm asking you this because some economists are projecting that we could hit 18 or 20 cedis.
Well,
that's why I'm asking you.
2 years ago, when it got to 15, people were projecting 20. They were speculating.
Right.
But government, overnight, we know that it came to 8. And now people were even chasing people with dollar that, can you get me cedis and all that. We've seen that before. And I think you need to hammer that. Okay. Because it's also your job to assure people to have confidence in the economy.
No one wants speculation. That one no one wants. But
so that bit, I'm sure that will still, get results from
just a few questions quickly because of time. We're hoping to nail this by about 9 o'clock. But brief thoughts on the SNIT, Brian Champong bit. Are there any thoughts you'd like to share? Is he being unfairly lampooned in this matter?
Okay, first let me take Brian out as an individual.
Right.
And let me talk about our attitude as Ghanaians regarding state properties, state institutions. I am for the private sector, and I am for government-private sector partnership. I also believe that in certain situations, the state should intervene wholly. Listen, in this country, today we're talking about public debt. But we've forgotten that from Nkrumah era, all the loans we procured to invest in the private sector to create opportunities, which opportunities we abused, have resulted in the situation where we are. Gone were the days when I was doing bauxite business. When I was doing bauxite, Bejaya was my point. If I move from Awaso through Kumasi, Cape Coast, I will rest and then continue, wait for my drivers, engage them and all. Bejaya was a good place those days. Today, do you know the state of Bejaya? Because
tell me.
It is a state-owned, it's a state-run, it's a state investment.
What's the state of Bejaya?
Oh, the place is collapsing. They cannot maintain. It's bad. The last time I was invited by my old school, St. Augustine's, and I wanted to use that place, I couldn't. I had to sleep at Ridge Royale. I had to sleep there because I could not, the place is bad. You go to La Palm. Freemasons, we had the annual communication 2 weeks ago. We were there. I walked through La Palm, the La Palm of old, the state of La Palm. Bad.
Can you say same for Labadi Beach?
Labadi is better. Labadi Beach is better.
It's one of our best.
I'm saying it's better. Now, our workers have their investment in SNIT. And when they go on retirement, SNIT is supposed to use this investment to pay them.
Right.
If SNIT invests in certain project and this project fail, how would our pensioners be paid? So I support any initiative aimed at making these investments viable. Okay? So if SNIT gets into an agreement with an entity that, look, we want to offload, say, 20% of our shares we have in this, or we want to get into a management contract with you to manage this and let's do profit sharing, it serves the best interest of the Ghanaian worker who has contributed to the SNIT. Okay,
so I get where you're going. But in terms of the optics, so some say that, but he's politically aligned. So let me, just because of time, that's why I'm pushing
yes. But we need to explain the fact that if we don't have the time, don't let us get in there at all.
You go ahead.
So if an entity, we know that Brian has an interest in a hotel. He's a hotelier.
Right.
He's a hotelier. He has an interest in there. Whether he has 10% shares, 100% shares, or what have you. It is an entity. He has an expertise in that field. So the question is, what agreement does that entity, which entity has an interest in, have with SNIT? For me, you as a journalist should call for those documents. What are the terms? You see, we shouldn't create the impression that, oh, the man is
we have actually done that. We've seen a few things.
Then I expect SNIT should be proactive.
Through with some semblance.
Then let's make this appeal to SNIT. SNIT, come out, make the document available, speak to it. I mean, they cannot be dodgy. They cannot, be.
SNIT must be clear.
This is not a political matter. I cannot come and speak to it politically, condemn it or commend it. SNIT must come out and even not only this decision, look at all their investment that are failing and explain to the public. I'm sure that TUC and other labor unions, if these things are explained and they understand, they will take away the Brian Achampon as a person and understand that, let's not look at the form, look at the substance.
So you think it's a lack of understanding that is making the TUC and others speak the way they are?
A lot of times is a lack of proper communication, the information flow. I will blame SNIT. I will not blame TUC. I will not blame the labor unions. I will not blame my brother Ablakwa for what is his intended petition and all that. I will blame SNIT. Because SNIT should know that it's a public institution. It's an investment hub. It's a custodian of people's monies. So when you are dealing with public funds, how you deal with people's money, you should be proactive in communication.
Okay.
So I am again saying that SNIT should come out. All the entities that they have problems with, their own investment that are failing, their remedial steps, what they intend doing to redeem people's investment, to bring them back to their feet. They should come out. They have a public affairs department.
All right.
They should discuss it publicly and explain what went into this. It will help.
All right.
So that we don't do political banter.
I have 2 minutes to get off.
Okay.
My producer is whispering into my ear. But let me just do this. I'll throw some issues at you. Respond to those that you will. Your opposite number, Dr. Kasielato Forson. The ambulance issue, the JAPA issue, and the AG bid. You're a lawyer. What is your take on that? And then I'll put the others together. Running mate for the MPP, and Johnson Esiedu Nketia saying that the NDC, if elections had been held last Thursday when I spoke to him, they would secure, per their data, their surveys, 52%. You can choose which ones to react to, and then we're out of here. Running mate for the MPP, when is it coming? The JAPA issue, AG, and then 52% for the NDC.
So
we have 2 minutes.
So generally, there is this issue of I've recorded you nonsense that has been with us for some time now. I'm a victim of that nonsense.
Entrapment?
Whether entrapment, whatever. I mean, I don't know what people gain out of it, all right? So if somebody thinks that you could go to another person's house or meet, have a private discussion and say, I've recorded you. Well, let's see how it plays out. But I think that my colleague Atu Forson's case, you know, there have been some discussions. You remember when we had the double salary, you know, involving...
Yeah, I remember that.
The president gave an opportunity for people, to those involved, to be paid, to pay back rather than prosecuting them. Is that okay?
Right.
And this matter has come up. We have a new plea bargaining law, and perhaps some principal parties may want to explore or not to explore. You get it? It's their decision to take. The AG doing his prosecution and all. It's a matter for court to determine. Now, the issue of running mate by the MPP, it is a matter for the flag bearer. As to when he does it, is his own decision.
Natoshi, Brian Echampo.
I am happy.
Dr. Educhum.
I am happy.
Napo, which one is it going to be?
I am happy that MPP has demonstrated diversity, inclusiveness.
Okay.
Gone were the days that people will say that MPP don't, as a party, doesn't give opportunity to minority tribes. Today, we have a Mamprisi man, a Muslim, from, you know, as a flag bearer. Today, you have an Anlo man as majority leader. Maybe some years, a few years back, somebody will say, oh, an Anlo man cannot be a majority leader in MPP. But here I am. I'm an Anlo man, an MPP, majority leader. It gives assurance to Ghanaians that this is a party for Ghanaians. This is a party that embraces diversity, inclusiveness. If you can rise by merit, you will be given the opportunity. Work hard, and you get the opportunity. It is not a majoritarian party that you must be of a tribe, a particular tribe, to rise. So that is the first major step we have taken as a party. Now, in considering a running mate, the flag bearer is now going round. Bear in mind that we've had a leader for 16 years plus.
You have about 7 months.
Now, I'm saying that we've had a leader for 16 years. Nana Akufo-Addo has been our leader for 16 years plus. This is the first time that we are getting a new leader. He is now going round selling himself. He is now going around letting people know that I am Bawumia, I have taken over. We should give him that first space to do that. Now, when he's done, anybody he chooses as a running mate, the party will rally behind that person.
Is it Dr. Bawumia choosing or the party choosing?
Well, he would choose and then get he would choose. And in that choice would have to be confirmed. Okay. So it is his choice.
All right. NDC 52%. We have to go. NDC 52%.
What is NDC 52%?
I just told you, Johnson Asiedu Nketia said, if elections had been held last Thursday, the NDC would secure nothing less than 52%.
You know, they went to the Supreme Court in the 2020 election, claiming that they won. And then when they were asked for their pin sheet, the record, they said they had none, yet they were accusing the EC. Later in their internal election, you remember the confession from Mr. Asiedu Nketia that the party did not have its record. And that is why, to save the party from embarrassment, he refused to provide record because they didn't have it. And they had gone to Mr. Tachuchi Kata, and he asked them that, where are your pink sheets? So, you see, when the NDC is speaking, listen to them with a pinch of salt. They always double speak. In 2020, they were all over that they had won the 2020 elections.
Okay.
And they went to court attacking the EC. In their internal elections, the truth came out from no less a person than the same General Mosquito, who said that, look, he couldn't go public. And somebody recorded him, and then they played it. That he himself saying that when they were going to court, they did not have evidence, meaning that they knew they lost. So all I'm saying that they shouldn't prepare the minds of their full soldiers falsely, and when Dr. Bawumia defeat them, they go attacking EC. They've done it before in 2020, and it came from his own man confession of General Mosquito. I only pray that they would go by the rules of the game.
Right.
Let us go compete.
Okay.
All right. I'm happy about the campaign. Let's avoid name calling, attacks. Let's focus on the issues. What is Dr. Bawumia saying? He is talking about a new chapter, anchoring his vision on digitalization, telling Ghanaians what he wants to do, his own vision. So far, we've heard nothing from former President Mahama. They've said nothing yet.
Not heard of the 24-hour economy. You've not heard what he has said about infrastructure and all that. But we don't have the time.
Judge a man by his track record.
Right. We don't have the time. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come looking for you again, if you agree. We'll talk about other matters, crucially, the Electoral Commission.
Very well.
All right. So I believe it's a gentleman's agreement.
Oh, well, I will make myself available. This platform, somewhere 2013, as a young legislator, gave me the opportunity to be here. And that is why I decided that I will be here on this great day of my birthday. I came here for a good reason. Mama V, she's still around. Yes. I mean, if a media house gives you an opportunity to learn, when you get to a point in life, you also honor that media house. I'm not going to office today. I was not to step out, but I said, look, we're
very grateful.
So I'm here for a good reason.
Right.
And I would always come back. You know, I know what multimedia has done for my political career. Giving the space to engage is sufficient enough to say. And
we're glad
I appreciate
we're also grateful to you because on your birthday, most people would, like you said, we're privileged. We are grateful that you took the time to have breakfast with us this morning. Happy birthday once more. Alexander Afenyo-Markin is the Efutu legislator, but he's not just that. He is the majority leader in Parliament. He joined us for this expansive conversation. But stay. When we return after the break, the world marks Menstrual Hygiene Day tomorrow. Things aren't looking good for some girls in the southern, northern, and coastal areas of Ghana, as they have had to give themselves up for sex just so they can buy sanitary pads. No one wants that. That's bad news. Now, we're going to be dealing with this issue, looking into it, why we are here, and what we can do to stem the tide of same. That conversation comes up next with Sweetie Abochi. You want to stay for that.